Hello, my name is Sam Feltham, and welcome to Expert Interviews here on Smash the Fat. With me today is the wonderful registered dietitian, Cassie Bjork. How are you doing, Cassie?
Hey Sam, thanks for having me. It's great to talk to you again.
Always a pleasure, never a chore, for sure. We know each other quite relatively well, despite living on different continents.
Gotta love
That's
technology.
the what? Sorry.
Gotta love technology.
Oh yeah, that's makes the world smaller and brings people together for sure. Just for all the viewers and listeners out there, how did you kind of get into health and fitness and develop dietitiancassie.com and healthysimplelife.com as well?
Yeah, well, kind of the shortened version of my story, I guess, is that I guess my story just as a healthcare professional goes back as far as I can remember. I've always been interested in nutrition and how the body works, and I've always been a little nerdy because I love dissecting research and like trying to figure out how we can implement it and apply those findings into our own lives to improve them. So, and I think along with that, I've always been an athlete. I was a gymnast, and then not too long ago I was a marathon runner, so I was always interested in like how what I ate affected my performance level and what types of activities support our bodies the most and give us the most energy. So I took both my passions and I studied the combination of nutrition and fitness. And with the ever-changing field of nutrition, I began to get questions all the time about what's healthy and what's not. So as a young practicing dietitian, I had to really start digging into the research on my own. Because when I was in school, so I guess back up a little bit to my schooling, I obtained my 4-year undergraduate degree at Minnesota State University, and that was in dietetics and also in corporate and community fitness. And then after you obtain that, to be a registered dietitian, you have to go through a pretty competitive process and get an Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics approved internship. So I got accepted to a program through the VA hospital in Chicago, and I endured a year of clinical rotations and research projects and master's classes, and it was a lot of work. And through all of that, I was taught the conventional wisdom approaches. So we were taught to treat heart disease with Cheerios, and oatmeal and margarine, but not eggs or butter or cheese, which is surprisingly or not nowadays what I encourage my clients with heart disease to eat. So we'll get back to that later. But I was taught to teach diabetics to count carbohydrates and to try to get between 45 to 60 grams of carbohydrates at every meal. And really the emphasis was on carbohydrates like bread, pasta, rice, and all those horrendous foods that spike blood sugar levels the most, which never really made sense to me.
Yeah.
I was taught like to tell people how to pick foods based on the amount of calories. So a 100-calorie pack of Oreo cookies would be a healthier choice than an avocado, since avocado has twice the calories. So Sam, there really comes a point when you have to step back and look at what makes sense.
Yeah.
And evaluate what you believe in your heart. And it just never made sense to me that when you're on a quest for becoming healthier, you would eat what I call fake foods, these processed, low-fat, high-sugar foods. And it never made sense to me that putting chemicals in our body, like artificial sweeteners, would be healthier than using a little bit of sugar. So that's when I really started my venture of just spreading life-changing nutrition information that makes people feel amazing and actually helps them reach their health goals instead of just leaving them more frustrated than they were to begin with. So, because people are searching for real nutritional truth. You know, they've exhausted fad diets where they lose weight and it all comes back, and they've switched from regular pop to diet and they haven't lost a pound, maybe they've even gained. They're tired, they're frustrated, and they're hungry, like literally hungry, and they're looking for a solution. And I just think that the solution is really simple, and we've just made it out to be more complex and confusing than it needs to be. So you mentioned, I have the company's dietitiancassie.com, and then healthysimplelife.com is the newer one. And it started as Dietitian Cassie, where it was just me. And it didn't take long for it to grow into an entire team, which is Healthy Simple Life. That's where Healthy Simple Life was born. So Healthy Simple Life is made up of registered dietitians, licensed nutritionists, and certified personal trainers. And we do one-on-one coaching appointments. We do nutrition and fitness, and then just teach several classes each week too. So we're just really proud of the fact that we like to help people live healthier lives, and we really put the emphasis on keeping it simple. We kind of have a pretty different approach than a lot of other practitioners. And we just believe that a healthy life doesn't have to be complicated. We don't tell clients to count calories or points or limit grams of fat. We're not about quick fixes or detoxes. We just help our clients heal their body from the inside out and really support their metabolism. And kind of going back to my nerdy side, we break complex information, like research information, into understandable bite-sized pieces and steps so they can make changes right away.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's good to hear like an even in-depth sort of background story to how this all came about, because you're quite a TV personality, at least in Minnesota, because it seems that almost like at least once a month you're on. What's the channel that you're on?
I'm on once a month, sometimes twice, but it's called Twin Cities Live, and it's on Channel 5 in the Twin Cities. So it's a fun show, and it's just another great opportunity to get this information out there, because I think when people first hear that fat doesn't make you fat, I mean that's kind of a life-changing concept in itself, and it seems very backwards from what we've been told for the last 30 years. And we just really focus on healing the body with real food, and we think that real food always wins. Healthy fat, quality protein, nutrient dense. And not even just the nutrition part. Like Dietitian Cassie kind of started just as me focusing on nutrition, even though I have the personal or the fitness background as well. I just kind of started with the nutrition part of things because when I went to school, I thought it was all about like 50% diet, 50% exercise, and that's just the perfect equation. But now we know that nutrition is so much more powerful, and it might even be closer to like 80 or 90% of the equation. So I kind of started going into this with just the nutrition part in mind. But now, the exciting thing about Healthy Simple Life is we can bring really all aspects of life and focus on this big picture. So we really focus on sleep and managing stress and fitting in the best types of exercise, the most efficient kinds, not the types where you're going on the elliptical, at like a mile an hour and just going super slow and on that thing for like 90 minutes. Like that's not fun. And I used to do that. I mean, that's what's interesting about my whole journey, and that's how I can connect with our clients, and same with the other dietitians on my team. They feel the same way, where we were taught a certain set of rules and foundational concepts in school, and we tried them, and it didn't work for us. Like I've been a vegetarian before, and I used to drink soy milk, and I used to not eat red meat, and I used to count calories, and I used to always pick exercise over sleep because I thought that was healthy, just like a lot of us did. And it's just frustrating because it doesn't make you any healthier, it doesn't give you energy, and frankly, it just doesn't work. So
and it's
simple.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is. It's very frustrating, especially when dietitians are still kind of taught that a low-fat diet is inherently a healthy diet, and that it's just purely all about calories. But then, sort of, as you found out in the real world, doesn't quite work like that. And then there are some better ways as well. So when a client kind of comes to you, say with around about 30, 40 pounds to lose, which is approximately 20 kilograms, how do you start off with them? What's the journey for them from there?
Okay, yeah, that's a complex question. It really depends on the person. So we really try to meet people where they're at. That's one thing too that we really take pride in at Healthy Simple Life, is that we're never going to make someone feel shameful for the choices they've made in the past, because we all just assess with what we have and where we're at. So we kind of assess just what they're currently eating and what they're willing to do, and if they're in the action phase or not. We look at a lot of things. Like I said, we look at sleep. I think this is a really common thing that people kind of just just brush it to the side. Like, no one has time to sleep. Like we're in this busy culture, and over half of adults struggle with insomnia, and the average American gets less than 7 hours of sleep per night, and most of us need 8 or 9 hours. And sleep is connected with how we eat and what we eat and how we feel. And I think for a lot of people, it kind of plays a role in your energy level and your immunity. We kind of, our we can notice that when we're more likely to get sick when we're kind of run down and just not getting a lot of sleep. But I don't think a lot of people realize that sleep is connected to your appetite and metabolism and cravings and weight, and it controls the hormones which control our appetite, like leptin and ghrelin, and our hormones that control if we're burning fat or storing it. So we definitely focus on sleep, and I know it seems kind of weird that, like, from a registered dietitian, that's the first thing you'd look at, but we do talk about sleep at the first appointment. And like I said, we also talk about stress. I think a lot of people brush over the importance of stress management, which is unfortunate because stress affects, like, every single aspect of your health. I mean, nearly every nutrient in your body that just can be depleted by stress. So it can also affect digestion. And that's another thing we look at is the gut. The gut is really an essential starting point for achieving optimal health and preventing disease. I think a lot of people think of gut health, and I think it just refers to, like, the unmentionable symptoms, you know, constipation and gas and diarrhea and bloating, and people usually think of those things, but the gut is really, gut health is for everyone. It's where your metabolism starts. It's where your food is broken down and digested and absorbed. So I think that that's a really good starting point for a lot of our clients, because what wreaks havoc on our gut is refined carbohydrates and processed food and trans fats and even antibiotics. If you're taking an antibiotic in your life, that kills off the good bacteria in your gut too.
Yeah.
So we do focus on healing the gut pretty much right off the bat, because the majority of our clients are coming to us for, well, there's a few key reasons. Number one is weight loss, and it's just amazing. It never stops amazing me just how a lot of clients who come to us for help with weight loss, it surprises them, but not us, how many other health issues are tied to something that they have control over, which is what they're eating. I mean, a lot of people that come to us for weight loss don't even think about their back pain and the fact that they can't sleep at night, and the fact that they're kind of bloated after meals, and their headaches, their migraine headaches. There's all these things that, like, I really believe in my heart that 90% of health concerns are related to nutrition. So I think it's so cool when people come to our company for weight loss and they're just like, oh my goodness, like, I didn't realize how good I could feel just by changing my nutrition. Like, all I wanted to do was lose those last 10 pounds, and, you know, their whole life changes. So so weight loss, sugar addiction is also another reason why.
And that's kind of a big one. And what's sort of your approach to sugar addiction?
Yeah, so our approach to sugar addiction is the gut. We definitely heal the gut, because your gut is actually where your neurotransmitters, your brain chemicals, are produced, and your gut is oftentimes called your second brain. So the first thing we would do is heal the gut. Like, almost every nutrition concern, like inflammation and a lot of food allergies, are all tied back to the gut. So that's usually the first thing that we look at, and what steps for healing the gut. Number one is just trying to keep sugar intake low. And the easiest way to do that, instead of just, like, trying to eat less sugar, is to eat more fat and eat a little bit more protein too, especially for women. They don't always eat protein. And fat is a huge one. I mean, I think that's probably, if I had to just give our listeners and viewers one tip that they wanted to just feel better, one tip they could implement starting today, it would be just eat more healthy fat. Because fat actually acts as a buffer on the carbohydrates that you're eating. So when you eat carbohydrates, they spike your blood sugar levels, and anything that goes up must come down. So that's why, say you have a banana for a morning snack, that's why your blood sugar levels go up, and then you might feel a crash like an hour later and think, gosh, that's kind of weird, like, that banana didn't even fill me up. I'm actually hungrier than I was to begin with. But if you had, like, some nut butter, like, I don't know, peanut butter or almond butter with your banana, then that's going to actually help mitigate the effect on your bloodstream. So it's going to make those blood sugars a little bit more stable, and just make the sugar from the banana last a little bit longer. So we always strive the importance of eating protein, fat, and carbohydrates every time you eat, at all of your meals and snacks. That's our saying, is PFC. And we tell people they can balance their blood sugars by eating every 3 to 4 hours during the day. I know this is different. I know there's a lot of different approaches, like intermittent fasting, and especially kind of in the real food paleo world. But the reason why we recommend for our clients to be eating every 3 to 4, maybe 5 hours, we try to stick with that 3-3 rule, the PFC every 3, is because most of our clients are coming to us with a history of restricting and crash dieting, and with the sugar addiction, their blood sugar levels are all over the place. So a really good starting point is focusing on getting in all 3 of those macronutrients every few hours during the day. And just that alone, like, it's amazing how good you can feel.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as the name of the company suggests, healthy, simple life. So you're trying to keep things simple, you know, so just having those kind of ground rules there to begin with, and as sort of like things develop, you can sort of bring in other things and stuff like that. But sort of, yeah, as long as you've got those simple foundations there at the beginning of kind of eating, you know, every 3 to 4 hours, and just making sure that you're getting a decent fat and protein source at every single meal, just keeping those blood sugar levels normal, and that'll keep your energy sort of normalized as well, because those blood glucose levels going up and down is what sort of causes these mood swings as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, blood sugar levels can cause mood swings, intense sugar cravings, difficulty focusing, low energy levels. Like, if any of those things sound familiar, then it's likely that people are riding what I call the blood sugar roller coaster. And, you know, most roller coaster rides are fun, you know, the big ups and downs and the pounding in your head, but most roller coaster rides just last like 2 or 3 minutes. So the problem with the blood sugar roller coasters, it's kind of hard to get off, and you ride it all day long. So when you're riding this blood sugar roller coaster all day long, you're feeling those effects. I mean, most people can kind of relate to the fact that they get pretty tired like around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, usually because you have a big lunch and then your blood sugar levels drop. And if you crave sugar at this time of day, I always tell people it's not about willpower. Like, clients will say, you know, at 3 o'clock every afternoon, the vending machine calls my name, and I can't do anything about it. It's calling my name, and I have to go get whatever their fix is, their pop or soda or their candy or whatever it is. And that's actually a result of your low blood sugar level. So it's a biochemical response by your brain, because your brain is really smart, and it knows that when your blood sugar levels are low, all you need is sugar to raise them. So that's why we kind of encourage this eating every few hours to stay ahead of your hunger. So it's different than other diets people have followed in the past, and it's different than working on your computer for like 6 hours until you're starving and then going to eat. So you're actually kind of taking a proactive step and eating before your blood sugar levels drop too low. So typically, you know, with the standard diet, which is pretty much an eating regimen that consists of a high intake of carbohydrates, and all carbohydrates turn into sugar in the bloodstream. So not that carbohydrates are bad. I mean, I think it's okay to have some healthy carbohydrates, but this is why it's so important to balance them out with healthy fats and protein. That's going to help us feel great and have those consistent energy levels and keep those blood sugar levels nice and stable, so we don't have those cravings, and so we feel like it's just liberating because you have more control. And the main one of those macronutrients, those carbohydrates, that's what really fuels the roller coaster the most. And that's just because all those carbohydrates are metabolized as sugar, but once they reach the bloodstream, and that's why they spike your blood sugar so much, and that's why protein and fat don't. So a good rule of thumb is to never eat a carbohydrate alone, because that's just going to be that sugar and give you that crash, or that spike and that crash. So you know, and also just consuming less sugar and processed foods is also kind of a no-brainer, but it's worth saying because those are the types of carbohydrates that spike our blood sugar levels the most. And then another thing that we recommend too that might be a little bit different than what people have heard in the past is we recommend eating a bedtime snack, because when you think about it, after dinner, your blood sugar levels, again, they're going to drop. And if you go to bed when your blood sugar levels are low, number one, it could interfere with your sleep, which isn't a good thing, because we've already talked about how important sleep is. And number two, I mean, why not eat a bedtime snack if it's actually going to benefit you and help you burn fat while you're sleeping? So not a big bedtime snack, but we just recommend actually a bedtime snack of carbohydrates and fat without the protein part of it, because protein just, it increases your metabolism so much that it can actually interfere with your sleep, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose of the bedtime snack in the first place. So my bedtime snack, my favorite, is just like a half a cup of berries with a few tablespoons cream, or a quarter cup of coconut milk on those if you want to make it dairy free, or that, you know, half a banana with nut butter. So many options, but basically just any fat or protein. And then just back to the gut, you know, healing the gut. Other important ways to great ways to heal the gut is including fermented foods, which are really high in good bacteria, things like sauerkraut, kimchi, and kefir, and kombucha is my favorite. I love my kombucha. And they're kind of weird foods. I mean, I know that a lot of people aren't including those every single day, and that's why a probiotic supplement can be really, really beneficial, just because they boost the favorable bacteria in your gut, and they give you a lot more than if you're having just the fermented foods alone. So if someone really needs to heal, then that's something that we would probably recommend. And glutamine is also a good supplement because that can help to rebuild and maintain the structural integrity of the thin lining of your digestive tract. And really, that's what helps you absorb nutrients. So if you're trying to, like, you're working really hard at eating real food and your digestive, then it's not really going to work as well as it could. And what all this ties back to, like healing the gut, and just, our digestion and absorption and assimilation of all these nutrients, it really ties back to inflammation and keeping inflammation down. So consuming sugar and processed carbohydrates and riding a blood sugar roller coaster, a lot of the negative things that I've talked about contribute to what I call chronic inflammation. And the problem with inflammation is that you can't see it or feel it, but oftentimes it stands in the way of our health goals, especially if those goals revolve around like weight loss or digestive function or even just having more energy and feeling better. And there are some tests, like you can get like your CRP, C-reactive protein, which measures, it's a marker of inflammation. You can get that test to see if you have inflammation, but it's a pretty good bet that with most of our clients coming in, if they've crash dieted, if they've been following a typical diet, just eating a lot of carbohydrates, a diet that's low in fat, even if they're not trying to eat a low-fat diet, it can be pretty easy to just automatically eat a low-fat diet since a lot of the products and stuff out there are low-fat. So if they've been following those approaches, if they've taken antibiotics, if they haven't been taking any gut health supplements, haven't been eating a lot of healthy fats, there's a pretty good chance we've got some inflammation going on. So that's just kind of another reason why we focus on the gut pretty much right off the bat with most of our clients.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating situation that we're kind of in at the moment, because I don't know if you saw, but a report came out yesterday that a third of the adults in England have pre-diabetes. Which is a massive number, right? And that doesn't bode well. But at the moment, as it stands, Diabetes UK still recommends that those with type 2 diabetes can still have up to 14 portions of starch a day, which is crazy. And I'm sure sort of a lot of the dietitians that are kind of on the ground in the NHS and sort of through many practices are kind of still recommending those recommendations based on Diabetes UK. So as a registered dietitian across the pond, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that is so scary. I think it's important to discuss just the normal blood sugar level or the normal blood sugar response before I talk about it more, just in case people aren't quite sure how it all works. So basically, the key players in blood sugar are carbohydrates and glucose and insulin. And how it works is that when you eat carbohydrates, like I said, no matter what they are, bread, pasta, rice, vegetables, pop, candy, they all turn to sugar in the bloodstream, and that's also called glucose. And then this glucose in the bloodstream stimulates the production of insulin by your pancreas. So if you eat a lot of sugar, it's like your pancreas is just running on a treadmill trying to get hold of this sugar in your bloodstream called glucose. And it actually, the pancreas allows that glucose entrance into the cells for use as energy, and it drives those blood sugar levels back down. And this only works if the cells respond to insulin. So some people, you might have heard of insulin resistance. Are exposed to too much sugar, too much insulin, and too often. And that's just because blood sugar levels are constantly elevated from eating too many carbohydrates or too much sugar. So then what happens is they become desensitized, and we require more insulin to manage the excess glucose. So then insulin resistance occurs when the cells are like, I'm done with this. I've already had too much sugar. Like, I'm sick of working. This isn't happening anymore. So that develops over time as a result of just eating too many carbohydrates, and it just amazes me. Same here, Sam, in the United States, this conventional treatment for diabetes the approach targets elevated blood sugar levels with medication, and for the most part, it overlooks the power of nutrition to address the root cause of diabetes. And I really think just focusing on the meds is such an after the fact, like backwards approach, because it just focuses on treating the symptoms rather than the underlying cause. And when it comes to nutrition for diabetes, I'm so passionate about this, you can probably tell. Carbohydrates, like carbohydrate counting is still the gold standard, and like the backwards part about that is you'd think it would almost be a good thing. Like, okay, good, we're counting carbohydrates and keeping them low because carbohydrates cause our blood sugar levels to rise, and we don't want that to happen if we have or don't want to get diabetes. But what carbohydrate counting is it's actually like ensuring that diabetics are getting enough carbohydrates for blood sugar control, which like
it's in reverse
doesn't make sense at all. So over here, you know, we recommend, or I don't, but I was taught in school to recommend 45 to 60 grams of carbohydrates at meals and 15 to 30 at snacks. So it's kind of like my approach where you're eating every few hours, but you're just like blasting your body with sugar. And remember, carbohydrates are the very thing that spike your blood sugar levels. So like, it doesn't make any sense at all. One of my clients had said, you know, I don't understand, like, why are so many carbohydrates recommended for diabetic diets? Is it just so they can provide? Is it just so that they can prescribe us more insulin?
Unfortunately, it might be that way, which is kind of sad, really. But then moving kind of back to our imaginary client. Once you've kind of explained your approach and everything, what are some of the common objections that you kind of get?
Well, definitely like fat. I mean, fat is such a. I think we're starting to come around a little bit. It's taken a little while, but I mean, even with like tying in the whole diabetes approach that we just talked about, even tying that in, there's a low-fat approach for managing diabetes, which doesn't make sense because fats do not raise blood sugar levels. Carbohydrates do, and healthy fats actually help keep our blood sugar levels stable by buffering the effect that carbs have on our bloodstream and making our blood sugars more stable. They help slow the absorption and digestion of carbohydrates. So like, it doesn't make sense at all. And I think that same like doesn't make sense thing can apply to why we believe that fat is bad for us. Like we restricted the fat in our diets or in our eating regimens for the past 30 years, and where has that gotten us? Like, I'm pretty sure we're sicker and fatter than we've ever been before. So, you know, when clients, if that's an objection, if they're just like, you know, I don't know about the fat thing, like, I don't know if I can eat fat, I've been trying to cut out fat because I don't want to get fat, that makes sense. Like, it would make sense that fat would make us fat just because it's called fat. So I wish fat was called, like, vitality or energy or something like that. But I think, you know, I just kind of would, that's what I would say. I would just say, well, that really hasn't gotten us anywhere. And then when you actually explain, like, the physiological process and, like, how your body works and the biochemistry behind everything, I think it's really important to explain those things to clients. I don't expect them to remember, but I think when you understand how your body works, it's a greater motivator for change, and it helps them to actually make those changes. Another big objection would be the counting calories. This is huge, especially because so many of our clients are coming from this history of counting grams and morsels and calories and like logging everything. And I like keeping track of things too, but I think it really undermines how powerful and how smart your body is. And Sam, I love your video, Why Calories Don't Count. I still show that in we have a certain class that we always show that video, and people just love it. So
that's great. That's really good to hear. That's really good to hear.
It's really great, and it's I've got it linked on my blog under my I Hate Calories blog post. If anybody wants to check it out and read more about my whole theory behind not counting calories, that's where that can be found. But I'll just give you the quick shortened version. Is the conventional theory of the calories in, calories out is flawed in so many ways. Like, I think an obvious way is because diet soda is equivalent to water, and that's not true. Like, that most people will agree that doesn't really make sense because diet soda is made with chemicals that your body doesn't even recognize. But that's just like one of the flaws to the calorie counting theory. And another main one is that it treats all calories equal. And the thing is that, like, your body doesn't metabolize all calories in the same way. You know, fat, protein, and carbohydrates, so your PFC, we can go back to that again, they're all processed very differently in the body. So it's not just about, like, quantity, it's about quality, and that's what we really emphasize with our clients. And this can be a really difficult really difficult thing because they kind of want to count something, like they're used to having that control. But I'm telling you, it's so liberating when they realize that they don't have to count anything and their body works better and loses weight or whatever their goals are. You know, weight loss is a big one. So it's amazing to people how they stop counting things and focus on food quality and actually try to eat healthy fat, and how they reach their goals faster than when they were restricting before, when they were counting. So, and it's really because, you know, when it comes to calories, fat has 9 calories per gram, and protein and carbohydrates only have 4. So diets that focus on counting calories are usually high in carbohydrates and low in fat, which really, you know, counting calories is a great way to restrict your body, restrict our bodies of anything that they need. Like, our bodies just aren't going to work as well as they could. So that's kind of how I explain it to our clients when they're like, well, I kind of want to count calories. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be eating before I'm hungry. And the way that I explain it is just that if you restrict your body of what it needs, it's not going to work for you. It's going to slow down. So you want to rev up your metabolism. That's not only going to help you like with weight loss, but it's also going to give you energy. So even if you don't have weight to lose, you want to be eating every few hours to really support your metabolism. And then your body learns to trust you. And it's like, all right, well, Sam just ate a few hours ago, and now he's eating again. So now I can burn what he gave me, because he's probably going to eat again in a few hours. And the process of getting your body to trust you can take some time. So it's not always just like one meal or one snack solution, but it's really, you know, the consistency that adds up. But if you don't feed your body, if you go for 8 or 10 hours without eating, this is kind of why I don't believe in fasting. Your body, your metabolism just kind of gets messed up, and your body's like, well, next time Cassie eats, I'm going to hang on to everything I have because I don't know when she's going to eat again because you just starved me for 10 hours. So that's the approach that we have, and we see it. I mean, we see the healing power of real food and how liberating it is to not have to count anything in our offices every single day.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's kind of what it's all about, and that's what a healthy, simple life is kind of about, really, isn't it? Yeah. It's about real food, some smart exercise, some fun activities, trying to de-stress and get some decent sleep. Would there be anything else that you'd add to that, Cassie?
I think you got it. I think I should hire you. Well, that was perfect, Sam.
It's all good. It's all good. So yeah, what's the bottom line? How do we lead a healthy, simple life?
I think just keeping it simple and not stressing and listening to your body. Like, again, like, your body is so smart, and it will tell you how it feels. And if you I think one thing too is that people kind of get used to not always feeling great because they just think like that's how life should be. They always feel bloated after eating, so like that's just how they are. And I think if that's you, or if any of the parts of our conversation today has really resonated with you, I'd really get it checked out. And I'm a little biased, and I think it's good to hire someone else to look at all the pieces of the puzzle, because sometimes it's just so hard to do it on our own. Like, I can even think of a client, 25-year-old guy with really bad acne, and he'd been on like every medication and cream and antibiotic, and he'd had it his whole adult life. And we actually had to kind of do some troubleshooting and experimenting, and we tried like gluten-free for like 12 weeks, and it didn't work. Dairy-free is what it was. And dairy of all kinds was causing inflammation in his body, and it was coming out as acne. But it really took him and I sitting down, like, and actually bringing in one of my other health coaches too, to really talk through it and just think like, okay, what could this be? Like, what haven't we tried? So I think, you know, it can really help to get somebody else on your team to help you kind of put together the pieces of the puzzle. But if you're just looking for somewhere to start, manage your stress, do some meditation or prayer, or go to yoga, go for walks in the middle of the day, incorporate exercise as part of your day, and not just like I need to wake up and go to the gym before work. Like, I'm a huge believer in get up every half hour, every hour at the least, and just walk around a little bit and get some fresh air. I think that's kind of what healthy, simple life is about. Like you said, Sam, it's keeping it simple. It's managing, you know, stress and sleep, and food should not be stressful. It should be exciting, and it should be delicious. And then, you know, just kind of figuring out how all those pieces of the puzzle tie in, but really not stressing about it. I think people get too stressed about just about everything overall, and I think we just need to lighten up a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And where can people find out more information about everything, Cassie?
Thanks, Sam. Well, healthysimplelife.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, Healthy Simp Life, so SIMP. And then my site is still up, dietitiancassie.com, and I'm on Twitter and Facebook, Dietitian Cassie.
Awesome, and I highly recommend everybody going over to the to Cassie's blog and sort of watching all your segments on TV and things, and reading your blog as well. So you've got a really good perspective on how to lead the healthy, simple life. So yeah, thank you so much for your time today, Cassie. Much appreciated. Yeah, there's only one more thing to do, and that's to hear a Smash It Out from Dietitian Cassie. So on 3, I want to hear you shout "Smash It Out." So 1, 2, 3.
Smash it out!
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thanks again, Cassie, and hope to see you soon.